All right, everybody, welcome. Another episode of Insurance 360, AEP, pre-Thanksgiving.
I mean,
54 days, and I think we've got maybe 20 left at this point. I
could
don't
be
know.
whiskey in here. We don't know.
I know. It's getting crazy. Every single day we wake up and we say, which carrier is going to pull a product, make it non-commissionable, suppress it from the enrollment system, one or the other, all the above.
I've never heard the word suppressed more in my entire life than I have in the past 3 months. It's crazy.
Yeah. But we feel like today's episode is one of those things that is just critical, because if you are doing marketing, if you are making sure that you're doing the right things year around, I think it sort of levels out all the disruption that we see, because you're preparing. You're not just reactionary. So I really am so excited to have a good friend of ours here at Pinnacle, and somebody probably a lot of the listeners today will know and have seen, Luke Acree, president of ReminderMedia, and also podcast himself. He's got his podcast that he does on a regular basis that's been great. Stay Paid podcast, which ties into marketing, right? We always want to stay paid. So Luke, appreciate you jumping on with us, taking a couple of minutes. We know it's always crazy in our world, but thanks for joining us.
I feel like we need to step our background game up. Like, he's got us killed over there. We need a cool side.
No, you guys have photos of yourself, so I love that. I'm thinking I need a big fat head of myself back there. No,
yeah, I drew this freehand the other day. You didn't even realize.
I didn't want to say it, but I could tell. I was like, "Ooh, somebody drew that free." No,
there you go.
Love being on the show. Appreciate you guys and the friendship and everything like that, and obviously love marketing. The one thing that is constant in this life is change. And it feels like the Medicare space is changing constantly. It feels like marketing, of course, like tech is changing. So I'm excited to have a great conversation around marketing and see how we can help people stay paid today.
Yeah, man. And one of the things I love and I heard this on one of the episodes you did, and I use this all the time, and I think it's just one of those words when you're talking about business and you're talking about marketing, the word is intentional. I think there was the buzzword back in the day. It was the guerrilla marketing, which is sort of like, hey, we're just going to do everything and hope it all works, right? And we've come to the conclusion that hope's not necessarily a good strategy, right? Hope's not a strategy. We like to think of our marketing as intentional.
We call it the spray and pray methodology. People used to spray and pray. That's what they did.
Quick way to go bankrupt.
Yeah. So when we talk about being intentional, we talk about having that goal in mind. There was a great book, if anybody ever wants to read, Robert Covey, and he really had a whole topic, a whole conversation about having the goal in mind, right? Start with your goal in mind. And that's where I think that being intentional, when the campaigns you're picking and the different strategies you're using when you're marketing, it's really important to have your goal in mind. What's the outcome you're looking for, right? Is it branding? Is it a certain product? What is that? So give us a little bit. I mean, ReminderMedia, which, has pretty much, we'll call it omnichannel, right? It does kind of everything. What's your thoughts on that being intentional, right? Putting that strategy together.
Yeah, I think you're hitting the nail on the head. It's like most people go through business and they don't know what they're doing. And so they use kind of a spray and pray methodology, which honestly, all of us don't know what we're doing when we first step into any business or anything. And the way you get good at something is doing. But the key is you got to track and you got to measure, because what you measure, you can improve. And I think just a lot of people are not measuring where their leads are coming from. They're not measuring. Like if I asked you, hey, all the AEP, and during AEP, all the applications that you wrote, where did they come from? What source did they come from? Are you tracking where you got it from? Because there's this rule in business where you want to lead with revenue, which means you double down on what's working, tie it to like a Facebook campaign. the golden rule, if you're running ads on Facebook, is you want to look, well, where am I getting my best CPL, my cost per lead? And if I'm getting the better cost per lead in this ad, well, let me actually take the money that I'm spending on these other ads and dump it into the one that's working until that cost per lead is not returning anymore. And so you got to be really intentional about your marketing. But I would even step back even one step further. And to everybody listening to this, the most important thing you can do in business is build your database of your ideal target audience. And this gets into the intentionality that you're talking about, which is like, well, who's your ideal target audience? Well, we're talking to a lot of people who are trying to go after seniors. And once you know who your ideal target audience is, what can you now determine? You can determine, well, what's the messaging that works with that ideal target audience? What is the place that that ideal target audience hangs out? Because like Red Bull, there's this famous story in marketing where Red Bull saved their company by doing a Hail Mary marketing campaign by taking empty Red Bull cans and putting them around all the trash cans in London. So Red Bull was about to go out of business, and they did this Hail Mary campaign. They went to these trash cans all around the nightclubs of London, and they put all these empty Red Bull cans in them. And then what happened was people walked out of the nightclub, and they saw the Red Bull cans and like, hey, I've never seen that drink before. What is this? It made it seem like there was this, illusion of popularity, and people bought Red Bull. What's my point in sharing that story? Red Bull didn't put those cans around the nursing homes. They knew their ideal target audience. Now, I know I'm talking to people who market to seniors, so maybe you should go after the nursing home, right? Maybe you should go after the 55-plus community.
It's important to know your audience. Yeah.
Exactly, because intentionality, if you start with the ideal target audience, now you can think of it deeper than just I work with people who are 65, right, or turning 65. Think about it as like, who is this person? Like, who is this? But what's their name? Like, what do they do for their hobbies? What are they into? Do they have a family? Do they not? Are they retired? Are they not retired? Because it really starts to, like here at Reminder Media, we created Dan and Stacy Shanner, this persona of agent that we then started to say, this is who Stacy is. This is who Dan is, because now we can start thinking about how we market to them. So anyways, intentionality is key for marketing, because it gives you the ability to track and measure what's working and what's not, and it gives you the right focus. And where your focus goes, your energy flows. What you focus on expands, as we all know.
No, I agree. I mean, knowing your audience is so important, right? We talk to our agents all the time about what are they trying to accomplish? Where are they looking to promote it? It could be a branding campaign, right?
Yep.
That's going to be different than if they're looking to get people to a seminar that they're holding in a certain area. So we've got to make sure that there's a plan in place, right? And I think that's where those conversations sometimes, I don't think the agents necessarily know, because branding, we can talk a little bit about that. I think that is so important to be consistent in your branding, because that can actually help maximize the results of your other marketing that you're doing specifically for other things when they know who you are, right? Coke doesn't have to do the same marketing as RC Cola back in the day, right? Their branding took them to another level where they were able to do other things.
Yeah, I think the saying is Starbucks doesn't have the best coffee. They're just on every street corner, right? McDonald's doesn't have the best burger. They just sell the most of them. Why? Because they've built a brand. And, there's this saying in marketing, if you want to get rich, do direct response. If you want to get wealthy, build a brand. If you're tired as an agent, grinding and pounding the pavement and having to make cold call after cold call, you're going to have to do that for the first, 3 to 5 years of your business, because you're getting it off the ground. But ultimately, if you've done the right thing with branding and building a database of relationships, you will eventually build a business that attracts. And that's what we all want. And that attraction comes through two things: renewals, so repeat business, and then more importantly, referrals. And it's like a measure, a KPI you should be tracking. Again, to get back to this whole tracking thing, how many referrals are you getting from your database right now? And referrals are a direct result of building a brand with somebody, providing value. Your brand is what people say about you when you're not there. It's not what you say about you. And every single one of us has a brand. We just maybe either control our brand or don't control our brand. And that comes down to the touch points and activity you're doing. So it's like, all right, this is maybe high level, but it's, hey, how big is your database? How are you keeping in touch with your database? And what are you sending your database to try to influence what your consumer thinks about you? Because people refer and do business with not the best. They do business with the most known. You didn't choose the best dentist. I can see your teeth. I'm just kidding. I can't see your teeth. So, but you didn't choose the best dentist. You chose the most convenient dentist.
Right.
Right? People aren't going to choose you because you're the best Medicare agent. That's a lie. Right? They're going to choose you because you were the one they got connected with. You're the one they thought of. And they're going to then justify the reason why they choose you. So you need to have reviews and you need to have a good brand and you need to have all that stuff. But you've got to get known. And most agents, when I survey them or when I look, like I think of our database of clients and I go, wow, the biggest pain point they have before they come to us is they're not getting a ton of referrals. And then I ask them, well, how often are you calling your clients and asking for referrals? Well, never. Okay, well, what are you sending your database consistently that's not about you, but it's about them, that would make them want to have reciprocity, right? When you give a gift to somebody, they want to write a thank you card back to you. Like, what are you giving that's just of straight value? And it's like, well, I have an email that goes out. It's like, well, that's the issue. The issue is not that you're not a good agent. The issue is that you're not actually doing a good job of keeping in touch. And most people severely underestimate how much you got to keep in touch. Most people just severely underestimate it.
That's a great point. And I love the fact that when we talk about brand, and I've had this conversation before, the data behind it really makes a difference. When you have data-driven marketing, it makes a huge difference. That's why when, again, you guys are omnichannel. So when we talk about, is it an email blast that does the best? We know what kind of openings are we getting there? Is it the direct mail, right? Is it the magazine that you guys have that the agents can utilize to really give something unique that really is going to sit on somebody's coffee table, 24/7 or on the kitchen table? You're always going to be top of mind. So that being top of mind goes such a long way. And when you're talking about that referral basis, I mean, that's where you grow your business.
You got to give yourself a reason to call. Like, all marketing should trigger two things, either a inbound request or an outbound opportunity. And so in essence, when I think about drip campaigns and I think about what I'm sending my agents in order to generate leads for ReminderMedia, I'm trying my hardest in order to get a reason for my sales team to be able to reach out, or my hardest for a reason for that person to want to request information on ReminderMedia. So the magazine secret for any people that listen to this and try our custom magazine, or maybe you're a client, the key to the magazine is actually not just that the magazine's nice and sits on the coffee table. It gives you an excuse to call. I can call you up and say, hey, Bob, was thinking about you today, brother. Reason why you popped into my mind, I just got my latest issue of Start Healthy. It reminded me I'm sending it to you. I try to send it to all my best relationships. And Megan and I try to customize it with things that we think you might like. Like, Megan and I put a blueberry pancake recipe in the last one. We loved it. We tried it last weekend. But man, I couldn't believe when I thought of you this morning, I was like, wow, I haven't talked to Bob in 5 months. I just want to catch up and see how you're doing. And now I have a non-salesy reason to reach out to my database, my client. And then super easy with your marketing. If you tie in your marketing, think about this as what you're sending. How can I call behind this and then reference this to talk about AEP, to talk about OEP, to talk about what's going on with their insurance, where I can just say, hey, by the way, I put something on the front cover of your magazine that if you ever needed info on your insurance, you can just scan that code and it will, take you to this landing page or whatever item of value you're offering. Now you can, by the way, I just wanted to point out in the magazine XYZ. And we have found the magazine generates about a 31% referral rate over the course of sending 6 issues. And the main reason why is because it's just a nice gift you're sending somebody that's a reason to call. And that's really been the secret behind the magazine. And so when you step back, even if you don't use the magazine, the challenge to every agent listening to this is, what are you sending that gives you a reason to call your sphere? Do you know the number one reason people leave their insurance agent?
No.
Statistically? So the surveys out there show statistically the number one reason people leave their agent, when surveyed, it was like 80-something%. I forget if it was 81 or 86%, said they lacked regular and meaningful communication from their agent.
There you go.
That was the main reason. So when surveyed, why did you leave their agent? Then they did another survey, and it was like half of your database right now believes they haven't heard from you in the last 18 months.
Yeah, that's a great point. That speaks volumes. And it just goes to what we're talking about right now about keeping yourself at top of mind. But I think there are situations where you can maybe go too far. I think we all have those relationships in our social media where it's like, okay, that's the seventh thing you sent me today. Like, I get it. Like spread it out a little bit, right? You want to be intentional. And when you're looking at the data, what do you see? Is it quarterly, monthly? We hit them on birthdays. We hit them on holidays. What are we doing?
The truth is, it's less about how many times and it's more about what you're doing. It's like insanely hard to do a touch point too many times to somebody. It's actually very difficult. If you think about your best relationships, how many touch points do you have every day with your spouse, with your best friend, right? And if you think about like a data graph of like my best relationships I'm in contact with the most, my least, my anonymous people I barely talk to, right? And so I try to encourage people that, I'll give you an example, two examples. Like I have a client, Brian Harris, he's a financial advisor. He does 275 touches a year to his database, manages 1.5 billion in assets, top 1% financial advisor. Real estate side, I have at Acree Brothers Realty, my brother runs the number one mid-sized team in Virginia. They touch their database 200 times a year. But here's the key, right? When people hear this, they freak out. They're like, what, if you hit me 200 times, I'm going to freak out. Okay, enough. This is freaking spam. And the truth is that would be true if Brian or, whoever only sends you 200 emails, or they send you 200 Facebook posts, or they send you 200 the same. This gets into the omnichannel marketing that you were referring to, Bob, which is like, you don't want to do 275 touch points on one channel. You want to do it on really every channel, which is there's 6 major channels in marketing. There is the email inbox, direct mailbox, face-to-face, right? Client event, seminar, voice-to-voice, that's a phone call, right? Then you have screen to screen. So that is your text message, maybe a Zoom or something. And then last but not least, I call social, but you could include some web in there as well. But social media, that's your 6 levels of marketing. So you should ask yourself right now as an insurance agent, how am I getting in front of my database on all 6 frequencies? Because there's this incredible thing in psychology called the frequency illusion, which basically states if you see someone on 2 or more frequencies, your brain starts to see them more. Like, how you have the RAS system in your brain where it blocks out things that aren't important because the average person gets like 100,000 thoughts a day. You can't focus on everything. So your RAS system, your reticulating activating system, helps you focus on the things that matter. This is why when you think about going to buy a certain car, you see that car everywhere. It's not that you weren't seeing it before or they weren't there before. You just weren't seeing it because it wasn't in your RAS system. Well, the frequency illusion is a similar phenomenon, and it states that, hey, Rob, if you see me on 2 or more frequencies, your brain starts to see me as important. So you start to see me more. So what's a frequency? Well, right now you're listening to a podcast, right? You're watching me. That's one frequency. If you got a Facebook ad from me today, that's a second frequency. If you saw me or if I called you, that would be a third frequency. And the more frequencies I get in front of you, the more your brain thinks you know me or see me. Why is that important? Well, I don't know the exact stat in insurance. I know overall for business, it's about 76% of the time consumers will choose the first business they think of. So it is so critical as a Medicare agent. How do I become number one with all the seniors in my community? Well, I need to be hitting them on multiple frequencies, at least 2 or more, as often as I can, ultimately, so I can be number one when they think Medicare, they think Luke Acree, and 76% of the time I have a chance to get that business.
No, that's great. That's great. As you're saying this, I'm going to digress a little bit. The last episode, I brought up Hogan's Heroes, and I don't think, I'm sure like 90% of the people had no idea what I was talking about. But we're talking about Seinfeld. I think that's a little more relevant, right?
Yeah.
George Costanza, he goes on the first date. If he doesn't think it went well, he does a leave behind. He leaves his wallet, so he has to reach back out. So she has to see him a second time. And he's like, the more she sees me, the more opportunity I'm going to have that she's going to be like, maybe he is okay. Maybe
that's
I
such
should
a better way
again.
to say what I said. I love that. That's so good. That's so
the
good.
Costanza method. We like it.
His equivalency was to the deodorant ad 5 Minute. He's like, Costanza.
Well, if you think about like also the buyer's journey, Like, this is what I like to think about is like, hey, consumers, because we work in 140 different industries, but one of our main industries, top 3, is insurance. And we're really heavy on the Medicare side. And if you think about the buyer's journey, is the client has a need, right? The consumer has a need, a desire that they're trying to achieve. And they have a pain point that is keeping them from that achieved desired result. And so your job as a salesman, your job as a product or service is to showcase how you can fulfill the need and eliminate the pain that they have. And if you think about a buyer's journey, you go, okay, as a insurance agent, they have the need of Medicare. I have the solution to solve that pain point by giving them the education. They don't know what they need in Medicare. They don't know how to get it. So your job is to go in there. So what's the last kind of 2 steps? One is the promise. So how do you showcase that you as a Medicare, what's your promise to them? This is how I can eliminate your pain in order to get this desired result. And then the last step is proof, right? So in your marketing with your touches that are going, you're hitting them, let's say 275 times, like, Brian Harris, you're in front of them on all 6 different frequencies. You want to showcase to them value so they keep paying attention. I call it the 3 E's of content: education, entertainment, and endearment. And you want to educate them on the products and services that can help them with the pain point to get their desired result. Then you've got to show them the promise of how you can do it better than anybody else. What is your unique value proposition? Why should they choose you? What is different about you? And then you have to give them the proof. And the proof comes from what? Accolades. How long have you been in the business? How many clients have you served? What awards have you won? Then it comes from testimonials. What are the stories of the people that you have helped? How many, reviews do you have on your Google business profile? Could come from partnerships because they've built trust. So if you have a partnership with Pinnacle, there's trust by association. And then last but not least, it comes from educational content done consistently. Like what you guys are doing on this podcast builds trust. It builds proof for all the agents that are listening that you are credible for the pain point that you help them with, which is succeeding in their insurance business, because you're consistently educating them. And so I just want to encourage agents that are listening to this is, you break it down really simply. You go, hey, I got to get in front of my ideal target audience, which is senior market. I've got to show them how I can help them with the need they have and eliminate the pain, which is they don't know what to choose. They don't know how to choose it. They don't know what they need to do to choose it. And then show them the promise that you're going to make to them and the proof of how you deliver. And that's what your touches should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think with you guys, the cool thing, especially with like your magazine, right? I think what for Medicare agents that makes it difficult, I'm a Medicare agent myself, right? And so Bob sells too, right? We're all dabble a little bit, but it's creating value with something that's intangible. And I think that's where some of our agents struggle. And I think that's the magazine that you guys do is cool because you're kind of throwing it in their hands and you're being front and present. And the value piece is just so important. I think there's a million FMOs, right? But we do things very differently. And it's why we succeed in what we do. And I think a lot of agents need to kind of get into that mentality. Like, what makes you different? Why wouldn't I just choose going direct with United Healthcare and calling the people on the phone? Or what makes you different? And I think that is really important. It should be one of the number one things people figure out before they start doing that marketing piece.
Yeah, so well said, man. And that's the goal of the magazine. Is really the goal of our platform is to give agents a kind of one-stop shop to automate unique things to their clients. So the magazine going to your client, and then we give you a digital version of the magazine plus email marketing, and then all the content we give to the agents so they can schedule that out on their social. So we want to basically give them an omni-channel. I want you in the email inbox, in the direct mail box, on social media. And then we want you to call your clients once a quarter when the magazines are delivered, or do a client event and have the magazines there at your seminar or client event. And so it's like we're trying to really do that for agents and then make it exclusive, right? Only you can send this magazine. Nobody else can send the magazine but you.
That makes a ton of sense. And I'm just thinking about this. We're talking about in the marketing, we're talking about building the business, but we're also talking about the retention part of it. Because when we think about sales, and we talk about it here in our office, and using just terminology, we talk about in our office, we've got hunters and we've got farmers. So we've got the hunters, right? The salespeople, they're going out and finding the new business, right? They're going out and they're looking for new territory. And we've got our farmers that are working with our existing team. We're cultivating those relationships. We're supporting those relationships. That's the retention part of it. And a lot of the times, our agents are both. And that's where the marketing can really come in and help with those aspects of it. You want to be growing, but you can't not do the retention part of it. And that's where I think a lot of times the marketing can help support the efforts, because as an individual out there trying to build your business, you only have so much time in the day, right? You got to automate some of this stuff.
100%. Automate the marketing, don't automate the relationship is kind of what I tell people. It's like, how can you set up touches that go to your database? And I mean, everybody has different opinions. My opinion is like your best deal, like your next application to write, your next policy to write is in the current client base that you already have. Meaning not just a renewal standpoint, but meaning like they know the next person that needs your service. And the average person on average knows 3 to 5 other people. If you have just 50 people in your database, that's 250 potential opportunities, but you've got to farm them, right? You've got to do what you're saying, which is, what am I sending them to stay in top of mind? What am I sending them that gives me a reason to call and just do a quarterly check-in? And then on top of it, how are you asking for referrals? Because, and I don't know you guys' opinion on this, a lot of people have mixed emotions on this one, but I just disagree with the coaches that say you shouldn't ask for referrals, that you should just create an atmosphere and do good service so they give them to you. I disagree because I think if you don't ask, you never receive, and consumers are so bombarded that they don't know what you need. And one of the best pieces of advice I was given, I shouldn't say was given, I listened to on a podcast. I think it was Ben Shapiro. He was talking about how he built the Daily Wire. And this was more of like a business. I know he's a political guy. We don't have to get into politics, but it's like he was talking about he's built this incredible media company. And they were like, well, how did you build it? Like from an entrepreneurial standpoint. And he goes, well, one of the pieces of advice I would give is that don't be afraid to ask people around you for help. And he said, most people never ask for help because they are either too prideful and they don't want to do that, and they don't want to owe somebody something. Like if I ask you for help, now I feel like I owe you or whatever. He goes, it's such a big mistake because it's better to give than receive. So when you don't ask the people around you to help, you're robbing them of the gift of giving. And I've translated that same advice to your sphere for referrals. When you don't ask your clients, hey, could you refer me? Can you help me out? I'm really trying to grow my business this year. My business is off of relationships. I love my relationship with you. And I would love your help. Like if you know anybody that you could introduce me to, maybe they're not looking for Medicare right today, but I just want to build a relationship with them. Do you know anybody you could introduce me to? And you'd be so surprised when you frame it through the lens of, hey, can you help me? People will be like, oh, yeah, I'll help you, Luke. And they'll give you referrals. But we ask so salesy of like, who do you know in the business that's looking to buy or sell? And it's like we're asking, so instead of being just kind of like, hey, I need your help. Can you help me? I have this big goal. I'm trying to do this and I would love to. And you just be so surprised how many people want to help and you're giving them that gift. So that's just a nugget that's helped me over the years of not being afraid to ask for help.
That's spot on. It's always about the delivery a lot of times, and we how you go about doing something. But it's, hey, we were able to help you today. We were health insurance. You saw how complicated it was. I'd be happy to help any of your friends or family that you think could also take advantage of my services. So feel free, have them reach out to me, and I'd be glad to help them in the same way I've helped you. Right? It's a delivery makes a difference.
Delivery is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Delivery is everything. I always compare it to when you watch somebody. Have you guys ever done a weight loss journey, right? Where you've tried to lose a bunch of weight and you post it on social. How many, here I am. I'm going to try to, be in the gym. Those posts usually get the most engagement. Like people cheering you on. Congrats, you lost 40 pounds. Why? Because it's like people want to be a part of the journey. They want to be like some of the best people in social media. They're the most transparent. Like a good rule of thumb for everybody, if you're trying to get good at Instagram or good at Facebook or something like that, if you go to your Instagram right now and it looks more like a commercial than a reality TV show, you got problems. Meaning like you need it to be like a reality TV show where you're just letting people in on your life. You're letting them get to know you. They want to be a part of your journey. People don't want to do business with the big box anymore. They want to do business with people they know. That's what it is. And so social is just so powerful because it gives you a chance to get known by people, and it builds trust.
Did you see the one that went viral? The guy was like, you know what? I don't know. He was like maybe 28, 29. He's like, screw this. I'm done working corporate. He quit his job, liquidated his assets. He bought a sailboat and he sailed from like Washington to Hawaii, but he documented the whole thing. Like he only learned sailing for like a month. Like he wasn't like an actual sailor, and he bought this boat, but his socials went from like nothing to like millions of followers. And then when he gets to Hawaii, they had this big parade for him when he gets there. A company sponsors and buys him a brand new boat because his boat had a hole in it.
So
Dude,
crazy,
just
man.
act like if you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out. But it's an inspiring story because, you know, you have a lot of people out there that are kind of like, oh, you know, they're tired of the corporate grind. What do they want to do? And he was just like, screw it. I'm just going to go do what I want. And people love that, man. It's like a feel good story.
They do. It's story. They get to know you. Great marketing should be like a magnet, is what the saying is. It should repel and attract. And it's like, you'll never be all things to all people. That's why there's riches and niches. Like, you already know the niche. You're in the senior space, so you've niched down, but can you even niche down further than that? And I always tell people, it's like, share who you are. Because when you're sharing about your faith, and when you're sharing about your family, and when you're sharing about your journey, it just builds trust. And the people that don't want to work with you because of those things, well, you probably don't want them as clients anyways, honestly, because, you know, you won't build a tribe of people. Chick-fil-A makes more money 6 days a week than their competitors do in 7, because they've built a core value centric business that they have built a cult around, in essence, in a good way. And it's just like, there's so many lessons there in business that we can take. I love looking at kind of other industries and going, well, how do they do it so well? And there's like, success leaves clues, as Tony Robbins says.
You can't be afraid that something won't work, because nothing is foolproof. Everything's not going to work, right? I think sometimes we're just afraid to put ourselves out there a little bit. You know, sometimes a video is going to get, 3 likes, and all of a sudden you get the next one and it's like 500, and you're like, all right, I got this. Tweak it a little bit. And that's just marketing, man. That's what you're doing. You're always evolving, and you're always changing and looking for what works, but you've got to put yourself out there.
Yeah. I mean, if you talk to some of like the biggest social media people, a lot of times they're going to tell you, because I'm a perfectionist. I think that's my main issue when it comes to stuff like this. It's got to be perfect. And their number one thing is it doesn't need to be perfect, because you never know what's going to go viral. You never know what people are going to cling to. Just put the content out there. And it could be something as simple as, what is Medicare, or what is a Medicare sup, whatever. And you never know what's going to get 3 views or what's going to get 100,000 views. You just got to put it out there. And if you're consistent with it, you never know where it's going to go.
Yeah, 100%. It's so well said. It's the encouragement to everybody. I want to give credit. I think it was Lou Holtz that talked about this, right? The famous college football coach or whatever. And, the reality is that we don't post on social because we don't like the way we look. We don't like the way we sound. And he didn't compare this to social, but I love what he says about people. It's like, hey, guys, I hate to break it to you. That's the way you look. That's the way you sound. Like, I mean, that's just the truth. But people don't care. This is the Lou Holtz side. They don't care. 90% of people don't care. When a picture's taken of the group, they don't zoom in on you. They zoom in on themselves. They're not looking at you in the picture. They don't care. And the 10% who do care, and they like how you suck, you don't want them as clients anyways. And it's so we so overthink the content we put out. We so overthink and there's no magic. I've done hundreds of millions of pieces of direct mail, millions of Facebook advertising, 500 million marketing email campaigns. Like, I'm not saying that to impress anybody. It's just, I have all this volume of data, and I still lose way more than I win. And I don't know what I should post and write. It's just all A/B testing. But the reality is, the winners, and you guys probably see this, is they're the doers. That's why my whole podcast, right, Stay Paid, is just all about taking action. Like, it's the doers. It's the doers. If you wake up today and you're like, wow, Luke, that sounded all good, but I don't actually know what to do. It's simple. How big's your database? And if you don't have your database in a place where you can reach out to them, that's step number 1. Get your database, which is your clients and your friends and your leads, into a database, an Excel doc or a CRM. And then step number 2, reach out to that database. And step number 2, you have a myriad of ways to do it. Phone, email, mail, seminars, like we went through them on this podcast. And that's it. If you start doing that, and then step number 3 is what? Build a relationship. Get that database to know you, like you, and trust you. And if you do enough, if you help enough of them get what they want, they will help you get what you want in your life.
I think that's a great point. There's always that thought process, the mindset. And I always like the idea, consistency. We talked about being intentional, right? It's not that you don't want to be creative, but I think the consistency of it, to a certain extent, trumps that it's the most creative thing.
100%.
That you got to be consistent, get yourself out there, and putting those systems in place really will help you grow your business, which we're all talking about here. How do we stay top of mind, and how do we grow things? So what do you think when you're working with the Medicare agents? If you were to say, these are the best practices, right? What is it? I mean, sometimes you talk to one person, they say direct mail's dead. It's all social media. You talk to somebody else, it's, well, you got to do seminars, right? Probably all the above work to a certain extent. But what are we thinking about best practices?
It's kind of what you said, of the best system is the one you use. And most people are not committed enough to the system they choose for long enough periods of time. But I would tell you, like, best practices is like, hey, at the end of the day, step one is you build your database. Step two is you got to get your brand up, right? So should it be on social media? Seniors are on Facebook. Seniors are on Instagram. You got to have a brand there. You got to have a website. And then you've got to determine your outreach campaign. I give people a rule of thumb, 26 touches a year should be your minimum. So every 2 weeks, you're in front of your database in some way. That should be spread at least over 2 or more frequencies. So a frequency is, if you rewind the episode, you'll get the 6 frequencies. But first, easiest one's email. Second easiest one is phone call. Start with email and phone call. And then third, add my magazine, selfishly. No, but add the magazine as like a print piece. You build up to 26 touches, pretty easy. And then from there, if you think about it, you have your database, you got your brand. So when people find you, you show up, right? You have a website, you have a social media, you're starting to hit your database of leads with outreach. And then you have to build trust. So you need to focus on getting reviews. You need to focus on building partnerships. So you, as a Medicare agent, sit down and go, who are my partners in this local community? So a natural partner would be like the pharmacy, right? The local pharmacy, the doctor's office, the dentist office, the chiropractor, the real estate agent, the estate planning attorney, the elder care attorney. We can rattle them off and go, okay, you want to get a lot of referrals? Man, this is the easiest way to get referrals. I should have said this earlier on the podcast. Easiest way to get referrals: be a great referrer. Be an incredible referrer of business, and you will get referrals. Ask yourself right now, how many referrals have you given this year to your local partners in the business? And I'm telling you, man, when you give before you take, as Gary Vee says. So like the magazine, we love the magazine because, obviously it's our product, but we love the magazine because it's a great touch to your database, but we also use it to do partnerships. So I go to that local elder care attorney and I go, hey, I love what you do. I'd love to feature you in my magazine for free. I just want to promote your business. And then obviously strategically, I send them a copy so they can keep it in their waiting room and all that stuff. But I just want to build this reciprocity. But again, back to the basics, I'm trying to build trust. So I'm dripping on my database 26 times, right? I'm sending them educational content, like frequently asked questions around insurance. I'm sending them entertainment content, like local events that are happening in the community that they should be aware of. I'm sending them endearment content. Endearment content is an overlooked one. That's how do you give back as a business? What does your business stand for? So like I encourage people, partner with the local food bank, partner with the local senior center, show how you give back to your community and market that through your mail and through your email and through your social. But you're hitting your database 26 times, and then you're trying to get reviews, you're trying to build partnerships, and you're trying to showcase the stories of how you've helped your clients. And I believe if you just do those basics, you will be a top producer. But most people they don't do that. They don't do it intentionally, and they don't do it consistently.
Yeah, no, those are great points. I love that. There's an old saying out there, which I don't think is accurate when we talk about marketing: set it and forget it. You've got to set it and you got to oversee it. And you got to be consistent with what you're doing there. And I'm going to steal something from your show. Take action. Be active.
Exactly.
Right. Be intentional. Get the branding going, and good things will happen. right? If you do those things, you're taking those steps. But no, I really appreciate it. I mean, that's a lot of great stuff there today. I mean, we've got tons of items packed in there. Reminder Media, great tools. I mean,
Awesome tools.
tried and true. I mean, we talk about, programs that work. And here at Pinnacle, one of the things we always like to tell our agents is that we do the vetting for you, so you don't have to, right?
Yep.
There's 20 different lead companies that I'm sure contact you every day because they contact me every day.
Hey, you
right?
should see my LinkedIn DM inbox.
Yeah.
You would think that I'm a model of some kind, but I'm not.
But that's what we do. So we go through, we do the vetting. We want to give our partners what works, right? And Reminder Media does do a great job on their stuff. So, Luke, man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you jumping on with us there for a couple minutes and going through a lot of this stuff.
Great
I
stuff.
feel like it's one of those things where, it's like we know it, but we don't always follow through, or something worked too well and we forgot to keep doing it, right? And we just got to get back to making sure we're doing the right things and we're being consistent about it.
Hey, look, I'll quote an old movie. And you guys put me on an old movie, but coffee's for closers.
There you go.
All right. So you want to close, you listen to this podcast, you listen to some of the tidbits that we threw in here. I mean, ton of great stuff.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks again, Luke, for joining us today, man. We really appreciate it. And I know we'll be in touch more. OEP's around the corner. So we got to make sure that we're doing our marketing when it comes to all year round. There's always opportunities out there, even though what's the rule with OEP marketing? We call it our Fight Club rule in OEP marketing.
You can market as long as you don't talk about it.
First rule of OEP marketing is you don't talk about OEP in your marketing, right? That's our Fight Club rule.
Yeah. No, appreciate you guys so much and everybody listening to this. Thank you. Would love to connect on social at Luke Acree and really enjoyed the show. So thank you guys.
Yeah. Thanks again, Luke.
Man.
Have a great rest of your day. Thank you,
guys.
everybody.